The Capitol's marble floors echoed beneath polished shoes as the Judiciary Oversight Committee convened in an emergency closed-door session. Kash Patel, former national security official, and now a fiercely controversial figure in the political landscape, took his seat with an air of defiance. Across the long oak table sat Representative Jasmine Crockett of Texas, dressed in a sharp navy suit, her calm expression concealing a mind ready for war. The room buzzed with barely contained tension as the chairman gavelled the hearing into order. It was Patel who spoke first, eyes darting toward the press observing behind glass. With all due respect, Representative Crockett is unfit to oversee matters of national security. Her recent statements demonstrate a gross lack of understanding of the intelligence apparatus. Crockett didn't flinch. Her smile was polite, but her grip on the binder before her tightened. "Mr. Patel," she said, her voice precise. "You've made a career weaponizing secrecy, but you don't get to decide who's fit for this committee. The people of Texas did that." Snickers echoed on both sides, but Patel leaned forward, unwavering. "Fit or not," he said coldly, "this isn't about popularity. It's about protecting the country from people like you who use sound bites in place of policy." Crockett raised a brow. "People like me?" she asked. "You might want to clarify before we interpret that the way it sounds." Murmurs grew louder. The committee chair called for order, but the fire had already caught. The following hours were a battle of nerves. Patel brought charts, documents, and testimonies, all carefully designed to paint Crockett as a reckless ideologue who compromised national interests by leaking sensitive briefings to the media. She refuted each point with surgical clarity, backed by dates and context that Patel's team had conveniently omitted. The more he tried to discredit her, the more meticulous she became, and the clearer it was to the room that this wasn't a rookie they were dealing with. Still, Patel had the confidence of someone who knew he held a final card. "Let's not pretend the Congresswoman hasn't dined with known foreign lobbyists," he said, sliding a set of photos onto the table. "Shall we talk about your dinner in Georgetown, with a Russian-linked donor under active investigation?" Crockett didn't even look down. "Let's," she replied, opening her binder. "Because what your team failed to mention is that the real reason I attended that dinner was at the request of the FBI, who needed eyes on the ground. You'd know that if you bothered to ask before launching this little theater." A momentary silence blanketed the room, broken only by Patel's forced chuckle. "So now you're saying you're a bureau informant?" he asked. Crockett leaned in, her voice quiet but dangerous. "No, I'm saying I was protecting national security while you were busy auditioning for your next Fox News hit." It was then that she reached into her bag and pulled out a small digital recorder. "You want to question my fitness? Fine. But you should be careful throwing around accusations, Kash, because not everyone in this room has as much to lose as you." The chairman started to object, but Crockett was already pressing play. Patel's voice filled the chamber, unmistakable. The recording, time-stamped 6 months prior, captured a private conversation he had with a defense contractor, one currently under federal investigation. "I'll bury that report," Patel said on the tape. "If we play this right, the blame goes to the Hill. Let Crockett take the fall. She's loud and easy to discredit." A gasp rippled through the room. Patel froze, lips parted, staring at Crockett like she'd materialized from a nightmare. "That's taken out of context," he stammered. Crockett didn't blink. "Then perhaps you'd like to provide that context," she said coolly. "Or maybe the committee would prefer to hear the rest of the recording. There's another 30 minutes, most of it you detailing how to manipulate congressional oversight reports and leak intel to sympathetic journalists." The chairman leaned forward, voice low and alarmed. "Is this authenticated?" "Certified yesterday," she replied, sliding over the validation document. "We were waiting to see just how far he'd go." Patel's hands began to tremble. He looked around the room, at allies who now looked away, at rivals whose eyes gleamed with quiet triumph. The balance of power had shifted. When the session adjourned, silence followed Crockett as she walked out, leaving Patel behind to face the gravity of what had just been unveiled. Journalists swarmed the hallway, but she didn't stop. She didn't need to say a word. The truth now had a voice louder than hers. Inside, Patel remained seated, his face pale, his mind racing through the implications. An ethics investigation was inevitable. His political allies would vanish faster than press statements could be drafted. But Crockett, now walking calmly through the Capitol's long corridor, had done more than survive a smear campaign. She'd turned it into a reckoning. As she stepped into the sunlight outside, Her phone buzzed. A message from her chief of staff. The speaker just called. They want you to chair the new intelligence subcommittee. She smiled faintly. Victory wasn't always loud. Sometimes, it walked quietly while the building behind it caught fire. The Capitol buzzed with rumors that spread faster than policy memos. Within hours of the leaked recording, news networks looped Patel's voice across every channel. Pundits debated the legality of what was said, but the political damage was already critical. A press conference was hastily scheduled by Patel's team, hoping to steer the narrative. He emerged into the briefing room, looking visibly aged. Dark circles beneath his eyes, lips pressed into a grim line. What you heard was part of a broader conversation taken out of context. He began, reading from prepared remarks. I have always acted in the best interests of this nation. The clip presented by Representative Crockett is a political weapon, a selective edit meant to destroy reputations. But before the spin could settle, reporters pounced. Is it true you discussed burying intelligence reports for political gain? Did you suggest framing a sitting member of Congress? Will you resign? Patel dodged, stumbled, repeated talking points, but the energy in the room had shifted. No one was buying it. As he exited under a barrage of shouted questions, a small group of protesters chanted outside the Capitol steps, "Unfit. Prove it." The irony stung more than he could admit. Meanwhile, Jasmine Crockett was flooded with interview requests. Her staff carefully filtered them, knowing the line between truth, teller and political celebrity was razor thin. But Crockett wasn't interested in self-glorification. She was preparing for what came next. The recording had struck a blow, but the system didn't fall with a single punch. Behind closed doors, she and a tight circle of allies reviewed related intelligence reports Patel had touched in recent years. There were discrepancies, language softened, threats downplayed, names removed. Crockett suspected there was more beneath the surface. Perhaps even coordination with external actors. That's when her chief counsel, Andre Wills, brought her a file. This isn't just sabotage, Jasmine, he said, sliding it across her desk. This is cover-up. Internal emails show Patel pressured staffers to alter threat assessments, particularly regarding extremist groups aligned with certain political donors. Crockett's eyes narrowed. If we can trace that, this goes from political scandal to federal crime. She stood heart-pounding. Then we keep digging, but we do it quietly. No headlines this time. We let the truth speak when it's ready. For the first time, she wasn't defending herself. She was hunting. At the next committee meeting, the atmosphere was electric. Patel wasn't present, citing medical leave, but his absence said more than any speech could. Crockett sat in his usual seat, a symbolic gesture that didn't go unnoticed. Her opening remarks were brief but sharp. This committee exists to uphold truth, not to be manipulated by those who fear it. In the coming weeks, we will investigate procedural breaches in intelligence reporting, regardless of where they lead. The members were tense but attentive. Some, previously skeptical of Crockett's political rise, now regarded her with a cautious respect. She'd exposed a vulnerability in a system many had learned to fear or ignore, and now she was threatening to expose more. Backdoor meetings multiplied, some offering quiet support, others warning her to slow down. A senator pulled her aside. Be careful, Jasmine, he said, glancing over his shoulder. There are people who've survived far worse than you just uncovered. And they don't like the spotlight. She smiled tightly. Let them come. I'm not here for a long career. I'm here to clean house. The senator didn't smile back. Just remember, cleaning house sometimes means finding bodies in the basement. 2 nights later, a car parked outside Crockett's home exploded. No one was inside, and no one claimed responsibility. The security footage had been wiped, and the incident was chalked up to a mechanical failure, despite clear signs of sabotage. Crockett didn't flinch, at least not in public. She walked into Congress the next morning wearing a bright red suit, a silent warning to those who thought fear would silence her. But the warning wasn't hers alone. As she entered her office, Andre was waiting with another folder. This one was different. Thicker, unmarked. Came anonymously, he said. No note, but it's explosive. Inside were transcripts, encrypted emails, even a wiretap log, all connecting Patel to a covert lobbying network involving foreign contracts and domestic surveillance deals. It went beyond lying. It was treason adjacent. And the worst part, the documents mentioned other names. Powerful ones currently serving. Jasmine closed the folder slowly, the weight of what she held settling on her like stone. If we release this now, we burn the building down, Andre said quietly. Crockett looked up, fire in her eyes. Then maybe it's time we find out who runs when the flames get close.